Lesser, greater, middling, makes no difference. The degree is arbitrary, the definition's blurred. If I'm to choose between one evil and another, I'd rather not choose at all.
Many have sung, danced, and lived freely in the city of Novigrad. It is the bastion of trade in the north and offers services known to few. This city is as large as it is beautiful, offering itself up as a home for many races and societies alike. Our first encounter with Novigrad shows us just how intricate and connected its underground societies are, and the further we explore this medieval metropolis, the more we learn about its unconventional beauty. Hey there, my name is Xith, and today I want to tackle the topic of why Novigrad is a free city and how it managed to evade the numerous wars that were waged besides it. We are very accustomed to seeing settlements in ruins during our travels in The Witcher 3, and this is no surprise given how brutal the nature of the Third Northern War with Nilfgaard is. There have been 3 major wars in the north, and Novigrad somehow always managed to keep its neutrality, even if it's sitting cozily within the territories of Redania. And this is the entire selling point of Novigrad. Business and people of all sorts are attracted to this city of endless opportunity. It's also why there are so many things to tackle once we travel into this region. Countless side quests, sneaky creatures attempting to assimilate into the general populace, and an extremist ideology so full of hate that they could paint the entire city in blood. The beauty of Novigrad shouldn't be defined by what it has turned into, but by what built it, and it was not always like this, which is why we need much needed historical context for the next part of this video. Before humans arrived near the Pontar Delta 500 years ago, Novigrad was a smaller settlement full of elves, and as history in the Witcher universe always shows us, the elves abandoned it and the settlement there started to be populated by men. It quickly grew in the hands of men, and King Sambuk, who was the founder of the first human state in the Northern Realms, made Novigrad the capital city of his state. King Sambuk would later be known as an ancestor of the first king of modern-day Redania. Now, let's talk about Novigrad's road to independence, and it wasn't a walk in the park. Novigrad was eventually captured by Temeria during the 7 Years' War in the late 11th century, alongside the entire Pontar Delta. This forced the then Redanian king Vestibor the Proud to relocate the capital city of Redania to Tredogor, and Novigrad remained in Temeria's possession for a long period of history. Things would soon change, however, when Vestibor's grandson King Radovid III managed to successfully negotiate with Temeria, and both kingdoms settled on Novigrad becoming its own free city-state. Now, the motives for this are unknown, but I would assume that Radovid III didn't really have the ability to take over Novigrad for Redania right then and there, which is why he negotiated for it to become its own free city. Both Redania and Temeria would then presumably have a prosperous city-state to either ally or trade with. Novigrad would stay largely unbothered until after the First Northern Wars, which started in the year 1263, when the then king of Redania Vizimir II pushed Novigrad into Ius Stapulae, and this basically blocked all merchandise ships passing Novigrad for inspection and sale in the city. This was done due to the still fresh conflict between Nilfgaard and Redania, which was present due to the aftermath of the aforementioned war. Naturally, this set Novigrad back economically, and it put Novigrad's reputation as a free trading hub in jeopardy. Many things changed after that, but Novigrad still managed to retain its former status. One interesting thing to also note is that when people refer to Redanian kings, they say that they are kings of Redania and Novigrad, even though we're fully aware that there's a separate ruling political power in charge of Novigrad. This separate society ruling over the city-state of Novigrad is pretty much the Church of the Eternal Fire. The Eternal Fire is a religious cult that rules over Novigrad through one important hierarch. This hierarch acts as the city's leader of sorts, while also being the headmaster of the Eternal Fire. A hierarch is picked by the most important council of the Eternal Fire, called the Electoral College. This council is made up of the most high-ranking priests and other influential individuals, and they are responsible for picking a hierarch when the time should come for a new one. The Eternal Fire's influence over the city can be seen by just walking through the Temple Isle district, where the Great Temple of the Eternal Fire also resides, looking over the entire city. As of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the current hierarch is named Cyrus Engelkind Hemmelfart, and he's seen as the king of Novigrad. However, the Church of the Eternal Fire is aware of the fact that most of Novigrad is controlled by the criminal underworld and that they have little actual control over the majority of Novigrad's districts. This can be attributed to the Syndicate, which is an underground alliance that was formed between the major Novigrad crime factions and even some Eternal Fire officials. This syndicate was created in an attempt to streamline the flow of coin even more by setting aside petty differences and increasing the efficiency of underground crime. This kept the common folk in check and allowed for organized crime in Novigrad to flourish. Later on, when Geralt arrives in Novigrad to search for Ciri, the syndicate was reduced to only the Big Four, which represented 4 major players in Novigrad's system of underground crime. What Novigrad later became known for, however, was the horrific witch hunts that were instigated by the hierarch through the fanatical and cruel witch hunters, whose actions were supported by the Church of the Eternal Fire. This witch hunt mainly targeted sorcerers and sorceresses. Later on, after all mages were either killed or driven out of Novigrad, they started targeting alchemists, soothsayers, and anything alien to humans, including non-humans such as elves and dwarves. The once entertaining streets of Novigrad were left absolutely lifeless and corrupted near the end of these witch hunts, and many innocent people saw themselves at the end of a hot pike. It's a tragedy what happens to the once liberal reputation of Novigrad during the events of The Witcher 3. The joy of the once free city is pillaged in the wake of mass ignorance. Depending on who Geralt decides to help during the main questline, either Redania or Nilfgaard eventually take over Novigrad. If Redania defeats the advancing Nilfgaardian army and swallows the north and Novigrad whole, Radovid V continues sending witch hunts all across the north, sowing even more death and destruction with the help of the witch hunters and Eternal Fire. However, if Dijkstra ends up ruling Redania after the assassination of Radovid V, he puts a swift end to the witch hunts and ushers in an era of technological advancement, also allowing the use of magic within Novigrad and its territories. If Nilfgaard wins the Third Northern War after Radovid's assassination, Novigrad is taken by Mir, and the witch hunts are presumably stopped due to Nilfgaardian society's liberal stance on magic. All in all, the fate and further legacy of the city is in the hands of Geralt, and being able to stop its streets from being painted in blood of mages and non-humans is a good way to honor the formerly unbiased and free image of this city. Unfortunately, this is another situation where your actions can help make the lesser evil a reality, and even if Witchers don't want to involve themselves with matters of politics, the game still shows you how your action, or in this case inaction, can affect multiple kingdoms and societies.